Okay, so have you been watching football wrong your entire life? I know. It's a super bold question. You tune in, you cheer for your club, you celebrate those screamers. But are you actually seeing the game or are you just following the ball? Welcome to this Masterclass Explainer. Today, we're going to totally challenge your understanding of the beautiful game. We're stripping it right down to the studs and building it back up. So the next time you sit down for a match, it's like a giant puzzle coming together, and you'll see a completely different game playing out on the pitch.
So, the explainer, from beginner to analyst masterclass in football. Our goal today is to take you on a real journey. We're going from the absolute foundational rules that govern the pitch all the way up to the advanced tactical analysis the pros use. Whether you're a casual weekend fan or a Sunday League veteran, we're going to give you the tools and the structured know-how to seriously level up your football IQ.
Here's the agenda we'll be walking through today. 1. History of the beautiful game. 2. Rules and pitch discipline. 3. The offside puzzle. 4. Player positions and tactics. 5. Football terminology. And finally, 6. Analyze like a pro. Let's jump right in. Section 1. History of the beautiful game. From ancient kicking games to the modern pitch. It's kind of fascinating to see this deep universal human desire to just kick a ball around. Way back in 206 BC during the Han Dynasty in China, they played this game called Cuju, which literally translates to kick the ball. And get this, just like modern football, using your hands was strictly forbidden, no way around it. Then, over in ancient Greece, you had Episkouros, which was definitely a bit more chaotic and physical. But the actual game as we know it today, that whole shebang was born in 1863 in a London pub. A guy named Ebenezer Morley got representatives from different clubs together to take this chaotic, messy web of regional rules and standardize them into one universal code. That exact meeting formed the Football Association, and boom, the modern game was officially born. All right, moving on to Section 2, Rules and Pitch Discipline, establishing the boundaries of the game. Which brings us to a really fun question. What do traffic lights have to do with football? I'll give you a second. It sounds like a total joke, right? But it's actually the real origin story behind one of the most iconic parts of the sport. Ken Aston invented yellow and red cards after looking at traffic lights. See, the crucial thing on the pitch is communication. Back in the day, refs literally just used their voices to warn or send off players. But during the 1966 World Cup, there was this massive language barrier issue between an English referee and an Argentine player. Total confusion. Well, the head of refereeing, Ken Aston, was driving home from that exact match, super frustrated. He stops at a traffic light, looks up at the yellow light, then the red light, and just has this massive aha moment. Yellow means caution, red means stop. It's totally universal. And just like that, yellow and red penalty cards were introduced for the 1970 World Cup. A real game changer. And just look at the stark contrast in these recent Premier League seasons. The sheer volume of yellow cards compared to reds is wild, and it's absolutely a rising trend. Referees are handing out yellows, literally 1,700 in the most recent season, to warn players for tactical fouls, time wasting, or just talking back. They're desperately trying to keep the game flowing without completely ruining a team's chances by issuing a red card, right? Because a red means you're out immediately, and your squad is stuck a man down. Let's get into Section 3. The offside puzzle, the most controversial rule in football history. Okay, let's totally demystify this. Offside is an illegal position where a player is closer to the opponent's goal line than both the ball and the second-last opponent when the ball is played. Usually, that second-last opponent is just the last defender, since the goalie counts as the final one. But listen, here is the absolute most important part to remember. This is evaluated at the exact split second the ball is passed by a teammate, not when the player receives it, so you can totally sprint past the defender right after the ball is kicked, and you are perfectly legal. And honestly, the history of this rule is a total wild ride. Way back in 1866, you basically needed 3 defenders between you and the goal. Then, in 1925, they dropped it to 2 defenders, which just exploded the number of goals scored, and actually heavily influenced famous games like the 1953 Match of the Century. Fast forward to 1990, and they tweaked it so that being exactly level with the defender meant you were onside. That was a huge advantage for the attacker. Then 2018 rolls around, VAR is introduced, and suddenly offside is this agonizing game of literal millimeters. And looking ahead to 2026, legendary manager Arsene Wenger is actually proposing a radical change, where you're onside as long as any part of your body that can score is level with the defender. That would completely revolutionize the game for fast attackers. Section 4. Player Positions and Tactics.
populating the pitch with strategy.
So think of a football team as a living ecosystem. You've got the goalkeeper, the only one allowed to use their hands inside the penalty area, directing the defense. Right in front of them are the defenders, your center backs, left backs, right backs, whose entire job is to shut down opponent attacks. Then you hit the engine room, the midfielders. They're the absolute crucial link, recovering the ball and dictating the whole rhythm of the match. Finally, the forwards, strikers, and wingers. They're the tip of the spear, tasked with scoring goals and finishing the plays. How a manager arranges these players, like, say, a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, that entirely dictates the team's DNA.
And that DNA usually falls into a couple of distinct philosophies. You've got the traditional English style, which relies on heads. We're talking direct, long passes, high physical intensity, basically bypassing the midfield to fight for the ball up top. On the flip side, you have the possession style, which relies on the feet. This is all about short, technical passes, patiently building up play from the back, and just starving the opponent of the ball entirely.
Section 5. Football terminology. Speaking the language of the game.
Let's start with a massive fan favorite, remontada. It's a massive, unexpected comeback to win after trailing in the score. It's that unbelievable, totally emotional momentum shift where a team looks completely dead in the water only to score multiple goals and snatch victory from the jaws of defeat. It's the pure, unadulterated magic that fans literally live for.
Now for a tactical one, the false nine. Traditionally, your number 9 is the big, strong striker standing right up against the center backs. But a false 9? Very deceptive. They occupy that striker position on paper, but then they purposely drop deep into the midfield. The defenders are suddenly faced with a nightmare choice. Do they follow the false 9 and leave a massive gaping hole in the defense for wingers to exploit? Or do they hold their line and just let the false 9 turn and run right at them? It is a brilliant tactical weapon.
Then we have the high press. It's a tactic that relies on aggressively pressuring the opponent in their own half to win back the ball. Instead of sitting back and waiting, a team will just sprint aggressively at the opposition while they're trying to pass out from the back. It is physically exhausting and takes flawless teamwork. But man, if it works, you totally suffocate the opponent and win the ball back in incredibly dangerous scoring positions.
Section 6. Analyze like a pro. A new lens to watch the beautiful game.
All right, if you want to analyze a game logically, you can't just react to the final scoreline. You need a method. Step 1. Observe the context and transitions. When a team loses the ball, how fast do they react? Step 2. Note exactly where the ball is won or lost on the pitch. If a team keeps losing the ball in their own half, their build-up play is broken. But if they're winning it high up the pitch, that high press we talked about is definitely working. And step 3, review post-match data instead of reacting purely on emotion. Check the heat maps, look at the pass completion rates. That is where the real story of the match is hiding.
Let's wrap this up with a quote from Johan Cruyff, absolute legend and one of the greatest tactical minds ever. He said, "Players only have the ball for 4 to 5 minutes. What they do the other 85 minutes is what matters." Let that sink in. Football isn't just about the one person with the ball at their feet. It's about the space, the movement, the discipline of the other 21 players on the pitch. It's basically a beautiful, high-speed game of human chess. So, with all these new tools in your arsenal, next time the whistle blows, are you just going to watch the ball, or are you finally going to see the game? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and enjoy the match.